Dear students, from the ancient periods, crime has always been an integral part of the society. With the passage of time, crimes have not only multiplied but also have proliferated. With the result, the modern societies find it difficult to define crime in clear terms. The dividing line between what is a crime and what is not a crime has become very thin, posing great challenges to the crime justice system of many countries. In India, besides the crimes falling under the Indian Penal Code, new types of crimes like cyber crimes, organized crimes, smuggling, high level corruption, ATM and mobile phone related crimes, etc., have emerged in the modern societies. Moreover, the conventional crimes like dacoity, robbery, theft, etc., are being committed with a touch of modern technology. Not a single day passes without some kind of crime news finding headlines in the media. Three basic questions can be raised in relation to crimes. They are: what is a crime? What are the causes of crime? And what is the remedy for crime? Certain allied questions can also be raised. They are: what is the extent of crime and under what circumstances a crime was committed? Again, another related question is why certain people have criminal tendencies. If crimes go on increasing in a society, then the society will tend to move from a state of crimes in the society to a state of crimes of the society. Crimes need to be tackled from legal side and social side as well. The objectives of this course are to trace the evolution of criminology as a science, its scope and its relation to other sciences, to examine the various theories which explain the crime causative factors, to examine various types of crime and the changing crime profile, to examine the various methods of crime prevention, and to analyze the correctional measures, probation and rehabilitation of ex-convicts. You will study this course under the following 5 major heads, that is introduction, which includes nature, scope and significance of the study of criminology, followed by theories of crime causation, which includes classical and neoclassical theories. This is followed by typology of crimes and changing crime profile, and then theories of punishments, medieval and modern views about punishments, and also rehabilitation of the criminals. Early attempts on the study of crimes were made by philosophers of various other disciplines such as lawyers, doctors or sociologists and political thinkers. As such, the early thinkers who studied crimes are cited by the history roughly from 1500 AD to 1800 AD. The line of early philosophers who made significant contributions to the study of crimes includes Thomas Hobbes, Martin Luther, John Locke, Voltaire, Jeremy Bentham, Rousseau and Montesquieu. Their thoughts converged on social contract for the sake of peace and order in the society. This later became the basis of modern democracy and the criminal justice system. However, it was Caesar Beccaria of Italy, Jeremy Bentham of England who laid the foundations of modern criminology. Beccaria and Bentham contributed to the notion of punishment according to crime. It is because those were the times when punishments were extremely severe from modern views of punishment. Later, this led to changes in the system of punishment for the better. Inhuman punishments were replaced by more human punishments. These trends created the grounds for emergence of modern study of criminology, which came to be called positivist school of criminology. Bentham's contribution to the study of criminology was very much related to what in modern criminological terms is called correctional administration. He advocated for the improvement in the conditions of prisons and more humanistic treatment of prisoners. The 18th century witnessed, in general, a great emphasis on the rights of man, which in turn exerted great influence on the development of modern criminology. Yet another philosopher of this period was Paul von Feuerbach of Germany, who insisted on punishments only according to law, to mean no punishment without law and no crime without punishment. All these strands of thoughts came to be known as classical school of criminology. In spite of their humanistic approaches to criminals and punishments, the classical thinkers did not go into the causes of crimes. And in spite of all the classical contribution to the humanistic approaches to punishments, the severity of punishments continued. The classical approaches did not distinguish between juveniles and adults. This was then followed by the neoclassical school of criminology, which focused on positivism in the criminological approaches. The first scientific approach of criminology was made by Cesare Lombroso of Italy, who is known as the father of scientific criminology. It was Lombroso who also laid the foundation for the positive school of criminology. This was followed by various approaches to the causes of crimes and correctional measures on modern lines. Now we come to the question, what is crime? The dividing line between what is a crime and what is not a crime has become very thin and therefore raises many controversies. Basically, crime is a social phenomenon and is governed by many factors. What is a crime for one community may not be a crime for another community. For example, the Brahmins observing strict vegetarianism do not accept sacrificing goats or cows at the altar of God they worship. For them, even eating non-vegetarian food is a social crime. But there are many communities which are practicing non-vegetarianism, and for them sacrificing goats at the holy altar is not a crime, it is simply a ritual. Similarly, what was crime in one period or place may not be a crime in another period or place. For example, up to the 1980s, Tamil Nadu was under the prohibition of alcoholic liquors like brandy, whiskey, rum, etc. The country-made liquors also were prohibited. At the same time, the neighboring states of Kerala, Karnataka and Pondicherry were not under prohibition laws. Therefore, during those periods, making or taking alcoholic liquor was an offence in Tamil Nadu, but it was not an offence in some other states. Again, Tamil Nadu also repealed the prohibition laws in the 1980s, and thereafter making or taking alcoholic liquor is legally permitted. Therefore, basically an act which is generally seriously viewed by the majority of the society is considered to be a crime. Most of such acts have been brought under the laws of the land and are made punishable. In India, the Indian Penal Code brings many acts under such definition of crime and views them as punishable. As such, a very broad-based definition of crime is, it is an act which is punishable under the law. This implies that an act, even if it is accepted by some sections of the community, and if it is defined and considered as a crime under the law, then it becomes punishable. For example, child marriage was widely prevalent in India before independence, and it is practiced even now by some communities which are either ignorant of law or which ignore the law. However, child marriage is definitely a crime under the law and therefore is punishable. Now we come to the need for studying crime. Crime, whatever be its nature and type, is a social phenomenon and a social problem. That is, any act of crime affects the society or part of the society or an individual or an organization. That is, every act of crime creates an adverse impact on the society or someone directly or indirectly. Therefore, it implies that anyone who commits a crime or violates the laws of the land should be punished in a manner appropriate to motive and intensity of crime. This has become the responsibility of the internal security forces like the police and the judicial system of the country. However, then comes the questions why crimes are committed and how to prevent people from committing crimes. These questions need to be answered by sociologists, criminologists and also psychologists. Although crimes cannot be completely prevented, they need to be controlled and checked to the extent possible. This involves a number of measures to be taken in the short period and long period as well. This needs an understanding of the causes of crimes in particular more than other factors. The police by nature cannot do much in this regard. If crimes are not effectively controlled, the people will be under the spell of fear of crimes, which will affect the normal functioning of the society. As I have said in the introduction, such a situation will push the society from a state of crimes in the society to a state of crimes of the society. Then the society will simply turn into barbarism with all extreme forms of violence. In the modern society, it is just a small minority of the society which resorts to criminality. It is this minority which needs to be tackled through measures of deterrence or corrections. Therefore, crimes need to be studied in all details if they are to be effectively prevented and make the society crime free. Now, we turn to interrelations of criminology with other sciences. Criminology is basically a social science. Therefore, it cuts across into all the social sciences like economics, political science, sociology, geography, psychology, jurisprudence, demography, etc. Also, criminology is very much concerned with exact sciences like physics, chemistry, biology, which find a place in the forensic science. Forensic science in turn includes forensic medicine, forensic photography, ballistics, fingerprints and footprints, etc. Investigation of a crime may lead into many of these areas of branches of study. Of late, criminology is also getting closer to the field of management science because many theories of management are being applied to criminology and especially police administration. As the world witnesses increasing crimes of conventional and non-conventional nature, the scope of criminology is also ever expanding. Now, let us see the crime and punishments in the history. Crime and punishments have come through a long history. The ancient history of the continents reveals the social order which contain different types of punishments for various crimes. According to Kramer, the Sumerians were the first to compile laws against crimes. In the early Mesopotamian society, there was a belief that law was derived from the gods. In ancient Rome, systematized law was applied across the Roman Empire. With the rise of sovereignty, courts emerged to deal with criminal justice. Punishments in the ancient and medieval periods were very harsh and severe. Even for crimes of low order, severe punishments like cutting off the fingers, blinding the thieves, or maiming the culprits were widely prevalent in those periods. Only after the entry of the British rulers in India, the severity of punishments was reduced. From 1861 onwards, there were lots of changes in the general administrative systems and the criminal justice system also. The period of Warren Hastings, lot of reforms were introduced in the prison conditions. He was generally known for his humanitarian reforms, even towards jail inmates. However, the rigors of the prison conditions continued. The living conditions in the prisons did not improve even after the reforms of Warren Hastings in 1776. It was only after the beginning of the 20th century the conditions of prisons were improved. The Indian prison administration is a legacy of the British rule. The British governors like Lord Macaulay, Lord William Bentinck, Lord Auckland, etc. introduced a number of reforms in this regard. Lord Macaulay, while presenting a note to the Legislative Council in India on December 21, 1835, pointed out the terrible inhuman conditions prevalent in the Indian prisons, and he termed it as shocking to humanity. He recommended that a committee be appointed to suggest measures to improve discipline in prisons. And now we turn to crimes in the modern society. Modern societies are witnessing mildest to most heinous crimes, sudden and emotional crimes to crimes well planned, psycho-based crimes to scientific crimes, solo crimes to well organized crimes, political crimes to religion related crimes, community related crimes to currency related crimes, family related crimes to forest related crimes, and above all, high-tech crimes like cyber crimes and ATM related crimes. Crimes are thus found in almost all the socio-economic functions of the modern society. In India and other countries, all the crimes reported to the police and by the media fall under the criminal laws of the country concerned. However, most modern types of crimes are yet to find a direct place in the Indian Penal Code. In almost every society, the vast majority of the populations abide by the laws of the nation, while a small minority of 1 to 2% does not fall in conformity with these laws for reasons of their own. This in turn creates an unhealthy atmosphere to the vast majority of the people. In criminological and sociological terms, it may be called fear of crimes or fear of criminals. If the society is in a state of this fear, the normal life of the society is affected. For example, if housebreaking increases, people will be afraid of leaving their houses behind under lock and key. Secondly, increasing crimes always mean an increasing cost of crime justice administration, which includes a well-trained police force, a well-organized judicial system, and correctional and probationary systems. A huge expenditure is incurred by the state towards the crime justice system, and this expenditure definitely does not go to productive channels. Thirdly, in spite of this huge expenditure incurred by the state on the crime justice administration, crimes over the past many decades have not decreased but only increased, creating the need for increasing the budget provisions on these items. This implies that a convicted criminal in the prison is assured of his food, accommodation and clothing, while millions of law-abiding people who are said to be below poverty line are not assured of these minimum necessaries of life. What a paradox! Therefore, crimes indicate only the dark side of the society in both economic terms and sociological terms. Any chronic problems like crimes, therefore, needs to be studied in all its dimensions in order to find an effective solution. Approaches to the solutions for crime have varied from time to time, ranging from severe deterrence of the early periods to more humanistic correctional measures of the modern periods. The human rights activism of the 20th century, fostered by the United Nations and adopted by all the member nations, has further strengthened the humanistic correctional measures. The modern crime justice system and its administration are indeed struggling hard to control the conventional and non-conventional crimes of the present era. Studying crime in the sociological background seeks to examine why some individuals turn to the life of criminality and leads to finding possible solutions to crimes. Now we turn to the relations between development and crime. As societies experience socio-economic developments, crimes also keep on increasing owing to the interaction of multiplicity of factors. Dr. M.K. Singh's opinion in this regard is worth quoting. He says, the most perplexing and major concern of all societies today is the growth of crime phenomenon that could reach abnormal and dysfunctional levels. The level of crime is used as one of the indicators in assessing the quality of life and prosperity of the nation. The process of development of a nation has not only witnessed changing socio-economic values, but also the conflicts between these values. These conflicts are seen in the shifting of values from higher order to lower order, from rigid value system to flexible value system, and from spiritual values to material values. Smooth economic development can take place only with a high degree of social and political integration. However, heterogeneous groups emerge with the divergent views and convictions about the positive and negative sides of development. Rival groups or communities which were lying dormant earlier become dynamic and also develop a deviant outlook to the positive and negative changes of development. The very social structure undergoes drastic changes. Yogendra Singh states, serious contradictions have nevertheless emerged as a result of development efforts and achievements. The ideology of consensus has been eroded from the minds of some sections of our privileged classes, which adds a sharper edge to frustrations and anger of working classes, and the gap between the rich and the poor has widened both in absolute terms and relative terms. In the view of M.K. Singh again, it seems that the degree of criminality is directly linked to the technological, cultural advancement and economic prosperity of the nation. He is of the opinion that criminality is increasing at a rate faster than the rate of economic development in India. He also views that crime against property is increasing more than crime against person. Newer crimes are increasing as a result of economic development, and criminality amongst women is also on the increase. V.J. Kanetkar supports this in his book Future Crimes, as he says, with the population explosion which is occurring almost everywhere, life is becoming more and more competitive and the struggle for existence more and more severe. In these circumstances, the inherent but baser characteristics such as selfishness, greed, envy, lust, bellicosity and the like will become more and more assertive, and one consequence that could be logically expected will be more and more crime, whether against person or property or administration. Besides the struggle for existence through rightful means, a craze for more and more out of the society prevails today. This craze is found not only with individual, but also with different competing groups. The socialistic pattern of society, which was the aim of economic planning, has given place to unsocialistic pattern of society in the last 3 decades. The gap between the highest income and the lowest income is now many times more than what it was decades back. While the daily language of people in the highest income group is in terms of crores or multi-crores, we also see the news of farm suicides in some states. Five-star culture and slum culture exist side by side with varying degrees of tolerance on both sides in many cities today. One of the class wars of the capitalist society discussed by Karl Marx in his Das Kapital is taking place in the form of crimes with reference to crimes against property. Robbery, burglary, major and minor thefts and even murder for gain have become daily news items of the media. Now, we turn to crime and the media. A controversy often raised by sociologists and criminologists in particular is that the media like films and TV serials very much exhibit violence and other negative sides of the society, and therefore, the profile of society reflects the same. However, the producers of the media report by saying that their products only reflect what happens in the society around. Media are not to blame entirely for the prevailing crime situation in the country. It is also contended that the crime situation in India is at low ebb when compared to highly advanced industrialized countries like US, Germany, France, Japan, etc. However, in absolute terms, and over a period of 5 decades, the crime situation in India has reached alarming proportions. Not only conventional crimes have increased, but crimes have also proliferated. And now, to summarize the unit, this unit attempts to define crime and examine the basic questions relating to crime and punishment from sociological point of view. The unit further examines the importance of the subject of criminology, which not only studies crime and criminals, but also the correctional measures. The earlier philosophers who have contributed to the development of criminology are cited in this unit. If crime is broadly defined as the violation of the prevailing social order, it has always been a part of the social order in any period of time, with variations in its magnitude, motive and types between different societies and different periods. Even in the prehistoric periods, one who violated the clan order imposed by the chief of the clan was punished by the chief of the clan. During the periods of monarchies, severe punishments were awarded even for crimes of low intensity or severity. It is very much a broadly accepted view that crime is a social phenomenon